Hey guys, welcome back to another video. In this video, we're gonna be having a scenario where the British Empire returned. So this may not be entirely accurate, but this is every land that the British had in their whole entire time. But you know what makes this insanely strong? It's that the fact that the British Empire has one of the strongest countries in the world to their name. They have Ireland. It's super scary because if you zoom up and go a little to the left, zoom out, they don't have these islands. Okay, but if this happens, most likely the people who would be very mad would most likely be Russia, China, the US, and like all of Europe. All of Europe would just be mad. I know it's like this country independence, I'm joking. But they got the British Raji. But the first thing the UK would do would be to declare war on them, and so now with the Empire declaring war, they don't have much land here, but they would be able to manage to make deep progress into them, managing to take a big chunk out of them. But at the same time, with this guy's help, they take a deep chunk. But since the British Empire came, the British Empire's whole entire strength gets converted, allowing them to swiftly remove all the back invasions, and quickly annex this country. A country with their empire's might. I can't remember his name. I know this is Venezuela. And they keep on going deeper into the country, creating them, scaring them, and just because then they took Trinidad and Tobago, unfortunately. And then they keep going in deeper into them on the land. But then I'm joking. Wait, no. But then they make a steady push out of the bottom, because the UK has yet to send their full army over here. So it's quite easy to be able to make some pushes. And then they start pushing up this side, freeing land along the way, because they're trying to get to the coast there. Because if they can cut this off, then the whole country falls. And then they manage to free their old land, out of control. But then they quickly start extracting them and quickly incorporate it up into a part of the country, so that it's unable to be free, because now currently it. But this gets another country afraid. France. Now Brazil. Anyways, so now with Brazil getting afraid, because they think they could get invaded next to they also join under the side of Venezuela to try to gain some land and get Venezuela on their side in case the UK comes back. So with the French army, with the Brazilian army, they managed to quickly But this is when they start getting a lot of backed up, causing them to get a slight pushback. And a lot. But then they make a mark to push out of them. And they manage to regain the old land and then take out. But then the UK sends their full army, resulting in all this land being gained back and Venezuela getting annexed. So now Brazil really doesn't want to die, so they completely back out. And that results in the UK winning. So in the peace treaty, the UK gains some of the land up here, gains a lot of the coastal area of them because they need it to keep sending their ships in. Because if they don't have coastal areas, because their whole empire requires coastal stuff, like Afghanistan, they cannot send anything if this area gets blocked off. Otherwise, it will just be those troops. Because that's the thing, being centered in the middle of the world. And yeah, that's the British Empire. Anyways, so the next country to actually happen is the revolt. Is that these guys revolt away from the British. They don't want to be part of them, so they revolt away. The last one. And Thailand wants to help them because they no longer squish between friends Indochina. So now they're helping them. So now swiftly Iran becomes a battleground of war because the two countries don't have a border anymore. There never has been a border. So Iraq quickly turned into a war ground. But some other countries that don't want, but another war ground that happens is Saudi Arabia. I'm joking. But they become a war ground area, meaning they don't really have anything. They really can't do anything because they're being pushed from two enemies to fight each other. So now the UK quickly creates a massive indent, but British Raji is not too far. So the troops are getting closer together. So now more and more UK troops start showing up. And literally this is the British Raji's whole army though. So that's why they're sending major troops. Now the UK has also annexed these countries to gain that extra amount of power over it. Because the UK's control over the world stretches from right here. The UK's control is from stretching here. This is what area they have control over from whatever happened. And if you don't see it, Argentina is the only country that does, and Uruguay are some of the only countries that don't get controlled by them because they are some of the farthest away from mainland. Now, it wouldn't make sense if it was it wouldn't make sense if it was just actually, no, the real control is like this. Then they have the African whole continent. and then they have like, this is like their real control. But this one includes Argentina. Anyway, so with this happening, Iran decides they want to start fighting. So they start fighting a two-front war against two people who are already at war. And they actually start pushing. They push like all of these soldiers back, which the UK definitely does not have anything to do with. But then the UK also like just completely attacks them. So now while they are trying to regain what they have attacked, the UK makes even more progress, invading Iran. And Iran is a pretty big country. It's bigger than the mainland. Africa, this African colony. Madagascar is like the same size as them. Anyways, so now this happens, but so now the war zone happens. So now this is where they make contact. So the British Raji quickly makes it, but it's basically impossible for them to win without a country breaking up this area. Basically, which would basically give them all of this. Because no other country, which would basically let them win, because the UK would have to send the troops through here instead of just from through there to here to there. Instead of just bing, 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 win, and bing. But anyways, the UK quickly sends troops to invade Thailand, which they successfully quickly do. Thailand's years of being protected is over. So now they're squished. Now they have to fight a two-front war. One against the British and another. No, they're not fighting a two-front war. They're fighting a three-front war. A three-front, a four-front, a five-front, a six-front, a seven-front, a six-seven-front. But then the UK makes this one has the smallest army. They make a naval landing here, but quickly gets. And this is actually seen as the first major loss, because they have lost the whole island. They lost their brother, and then they start losing. They lost the gains, and are slowly losing gains because their empire is too big. I wonder what that flash is in the Soviet. Who's the Soviets? But anyways, they managed to cut off the Iraq's naval access. So now Iran here. Wait, no, is that Iraq? No, yeah, this is Iraq. Now Iran right here gets completely controlled. And now the world's starting to realize how weak the UK really is. Well, I mean, that's what they think. The UK is weak. But then the UK starts sending half their whole entire royal army. And that pushes out like half of all the invaded land that they control them. Yeah, anyways. And then their whole army just wipes out the anti-invasion. And then just completely is sending their whole army. Which with their whole army sent, they make a massive indent in Afghanistan, which looks like this, and removes Pakistan. They remove Pakistan, and about to reach Indistan. There's Nepalistan and Bhutanistan and Indistan. There's also Islandstan here. But then they start making a major progress, and then quickly takes the capital. But then they move the capital all the way to here. So they make a spear. But the army doesn't give up. But then something happens. Something good, you would say. China and Russia joined the war on the side of British Raj. And with their army being far stronger than the UK's, they free all this land, which inevitably becomes part of the British Raj. We're creating a major size difference of land, because now the British Raj, if the UK had it, the UK could be pretty big. Oh my, what? Wait, what? Oh, that's so cool. But unfortunately for the UK, they didn't have it, guys. They didn't have the idea to actually support them. And so they became a peace deal. So now the British Empire has lost What? The British Empire has lost one of our pieces of land here. So now their influence goes from this, like this, all the way to like this. You see this? You see how bad this is? You see how little their influence is? You see how some parts, they don't even influence their own land? Like, they don't influence Malaysia, or like parts of up here. Like, they don't control parts of Canada. But the real surprise is them not controlling this part of Ireland. Like, it's so close to the capital, but that part's more likely to become independent now, because they don't have influence over that. Speaking of independence, the United Independent State is going to be in the next episode. I'm joking. This is a series, though. Tell me what empire you want to see next. I'm making all of them. And I mean all of them. Okay, anyways. So now the U.S. really wants to have their old land back. So now the U.S. declares war on the new U.S. the new United States. And unfortunately for the U.S., they don't have any allies that want them more. Because the U.S., I'm joking. But with the US declaring war, all their allies come to help. Because they also all hate the Great Britain now. So now with their allies all suddenly joining the war against them, against the UK is looking like they stand not a chance. With like Europe literally all sending troops to help the US win. It's pretty thoughtful to say the US is losing. I mean the Canada's done. Canada's dead. I mean, not Canada. But I mean, Denmark is completely going to get killed. Like Denmark is gone. Denmark wasn't even a question. These areas just say goodbye. And surprisingly, these two get annexed. I'm going insane. I've been doing this for 5 hours. Anyway, so now the British have Canada, and that's all they really care about because it looks better. But anyway, since they declared war on colonies, not the actual states, these aren't actually like they actually control. No. It's all colonial. You see, the UK is not able. The UK can help, but they're not helping. The UK doesn't care about helping their colony out in this very one-sided war. So the US is really only fighting a colony. The US isn't fighting like a country. They're fighting a colony that has they're fighting themselves. This is the US. They're fighting their president, who's not British, so it's not Donald. So they got Donald Duck. Anyway, so the US start getting invaded by a colony. But then the UK starts turning them into a war zone. Anyways, the UK actually starts helping, so it's no longer a colonial war. It's now a war. But it can't not be a world war, because if a world war was to happen, I don't know this can be a world war. Germany's on the opposite side of the UK. So this could be a world war. Anyways, the US made progress up there. The US is making progress up there. Nope, not a chance. So now the US removing all Canadians. The US war front is looking like this. With the US definitely losing this war because they only have gained one land was soon to be regained. Or that part. But guess what? The UK takes California, takes the East. And they take all the US. But they don't give it to the colony, no. No. They completely merge it. They're not sharing. Who cares? What's new with the UK? Anyways, that's it. So now the final world map looks like this. The UK sphere of influence now, with the new UK spans from north up here to over here. To connected over here. That was their old influence. Now with their new influence, it's the whole world. The UK is officially controlled the world. The sun shall never set on the British Empire anymore, because the sun. If only they still had the British Project, then the sun literally would never set. No matter what you can do, you can talk to someone on the other side of the country. Plane's ruined because no one. They would be part of the British time, where like the whole empire would control time and stuff. Yeah, control time.